All guests on ZASLOW Show 2.0 brought to us by the official beer of the program. You know we're talking Johnny Cuba, European roots with that Caribbean soul, a refreshing German lager in a can. Go to johnnycuba.us. You use the Johnny Locator. You find the nearest location to you. Make sure you always drink responsibly. And, of course, don't forget Johnny Cuba's mantra, stay tranquilo. Joining us now is our pal, ESPN Radio show, Fortenbaugh.
Whoa. You got your own beer?
I have an official beer of ZASLOW Show 2.0. Do you need me to send you a six-pack?
I might have to take you up on that. That's incredible. Like, of all the official sponsors anyone could have, ZASLOW has an official beer for the show. Like, that's how you know you kind of made it. And it's not the same beer everybody's drinking. It's something different. It's something unique. I love it.
Right. There are plenty of other good beers out there, but I got a beer that is specific to us here in South Florida. Johnny Cuba. You're not getting Johnny Cuba in Montana or Wyoming, all right? You're getting it here. So if you want me, I'll set you up, all right? We're going to send you a six-pack.
I appreciate it.
Yes. Good to have you here. Of course, you're here, Joe, 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN Radio starting next week. New co-host will be Q Myers. You're very excited about that, right?
Very excited about that. I believe it's actually going to be 1 week from Monday. So at the Super Bowl, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, noon to 3 p.m. Eastern, it will be me and Harry Douglas from Media Row. You don't call it Radio Row anymore. It's Media Row. We will be on Media Row. I have not told Harry this yet. That show, that 3-day show, will be known as the Joe Fortenbaugh Show. That's it. We're calling it that for 3 days. Don't really care what he has to say. Come Monday after the Super Bowl, that's when Joe and Q launches.
What about just calling it Fortenbaugh? Like there used to be Greeny. What about just Fortenbaugh?
That's got some pizzazz to it. I need it to be, when it's with Harry, I need it to be as offensive to him as possible. I need him to think to himself, I didn't agree to sign up on some show called Fortenbaugh where I'm going to play some bit character. And that's exactly what's going to end up happening. So I like that. Welcome to Fortenbaugh. I'm Joe Fortenbaugh. Let's get on with the show. No introduction for him either.
Right, yeah. To talk if you find an opening, say a couple things. You know? Do you like Media Row?
So I haven't done it. I've done 4 Super Bowls. So go back to like 2008-ish. The first one I covered was in Tampa Bay. It was Cardinals-Steelers. So the famous game with was it Santonio Holmes. Yeah. And then after that, it was just 4 in a row. So then I got Saints-Colts in Miami. And then in Dallas, it was Green Bay and Pittsburgh. That was the worst one. I showed up with the flu. It was a really rough week, so I didn't get to do a whole lot. Following year, Indianapolis was Giants-Patriots, the rematch. That was an awesome one because Indy is a great Super Bowl city. And on the weekend, we got great weather. Somehow, out of nowhere, great weather showed up for the weekend so everyone could be outside drinking. It was tremendous. And then I did Radio Row for the first and only time ever in Arizona for Seahawks Patriots, the famous Russell Wilson interception at the end of the game. So I have not been on Radio Row. Oh, no. I also, when I was working in San Francisco, I was in Miami for Niners Chiefs, the COVID year, the famous COVID year.
2020. Yep. Well,
good times. Really good times.
That one. I was doing the show back then. It was ZASLOW and Amber. So me and Amber Wilson are doing the show. And Monday on Media Row was the day after Kobe Bryant died.
Yes. Yeah, that happened on a Sunday. I remember I was in a department store in San Francisco. I was getting a white blazer because I wanted to do a Miami Vice look for the week. I mean, who hasn't thought of that brilliant idea? Dress up like Miami Vice when in Miami. I thought I was so smart. And then Kyle Brandt and everybody from the Good Morning Football set did it every day. And they had a much more powerful platform than me, so I just looked like an idiot copying them. But yeah, Kobe passed away, and like everyone is obviously distraught over that, and you felt that all week for that Super Bowl. You felt that down there, like that was weighing on everyone. Everyone was so sad about that.
My very first Media Row, we're talking back maybe 06 in Detroit. The Super Bowl was
Seattle, Pittsburgh,
here in Miami. Sent me the show that I was producing back then. I was a little boy. I was a young ZASLOW. I was the producer for Boog Shambi. All right, the Boog Shambi
nice
show. Yep. So me and Boog were up there for the week in Detroit, And the first time I've ever done this, we're at the convention center, great convention center. But the convention center is like 40 minutes away from the hotel. And, to put it simply, I'm having a stomach situation. All right. So I can't go, and I don't do public facilities. I don't do it, but I don't have enough time to get in a taxi and go 40 minutes to the hotel. So I got to find a spot in this very public convention center with all kinds of fans who are roaming around as well. I go way to the other side of the convention center. I find like a secluded area. Perfect. A single restroom. It's not a big restroom. It's a single. That's exactly what I need in this moment of distress. Okay, I go up to the door. It's locked, but that's okay. All right. It's one person in there. He'll be done in a few minutes. No big deal. This is still the scenario I need. I wait a few minutes. I hear the toilet flush, the sink, washing hands. Out coming from the bathroom. I'm about to use the same bathroom. That refrigerator Perry just did his business.
It's like there's so many ways that could have gone, and I'm thinking, who's it going to be? At no point did I think refrigerator Perry. A disaster for you. It's a disaster.
Not a good scene. Not a good scene. All right. So
quick anecdote on this. I'm just like you. My poor son, he's 8 years old. He's in second grade. When he gets off that bus, he comes sprinting into the house every day and goes right for the bathroom. And my wife is like, why doesn't he just go at school? I'm like, you don't understand. It's the same thing I went through. Never use the facilities once at school. Never.
I mean, my kids have called home. My older one's called home. Dad, can you pick me up early? No, I got to take a dump. And I'm like, all right, I get it. And I pick them up. It's like, all right, here you are. Hey, listen, I understand. What are you gonna do?
No, it's the life.
What do you make of the Eagles fan celebrating the way that you're an Eagles fan? What do you make of the Eagles fans celebrating in the streets after the NFC Championship? Can it be a little bit of act like you've been there before? I mean, it's like, is the Eagle fan going to wear an NFC Champion shirt? No, that's loser shit. What do you mean?
Great question. It is a fan base that loves to party. They're looking for an excuse. Give them an opportunity to lose their mind, and they will take full advantage of it. See, this is the thing. Like, there was this culture and this narrative about Philadelphia fans, and everyone would always say, oh, it's so brutal. They're such brutal fans. And they would reference booing Santa Claus. They would reference cheering when Michael Irvin hurt his neck on the field. They would reference like throwing batteries, J.D. Drew, Scott Rowland, like all that stuff.
Those are the three go-tos. Michael Irvin, Santa, batteries.
Yes, exactly. So what happened was, like, that was the narrative. And then people would go, media people or fans or whatever, and they'd come out and then they'd share their experience. But like, yeah, it's pretty hostile. And then this younger generation came up. And I'm not just talking about like young people now. I'm talking about people my age. And they just kind of fed them. It's like, this is what we're supposed to be. Like a fraternity passing down its traditions. It's like, we're supposed to be hostile. We're supposed to be brutal. And it's taken on a life of its own. It's gone further and further. When the Niners lost the NFC Championship game there a few years ago, some radio guys I knew in San Francisco who had never been to Philly traveled east. They're going to the game. They're wearing all their gear. I'm like, good luck, man. This is not going to be pleasant. Man, what do you know? We've been the candlestick. We've dealt with the Dodger fans. And I'm like, yeah, no, I get it. It's just, I really hope you're ready. Please do not underestimate this. They left. They hated it. They showed up on radio the next day complaining about how the team lost, but they bitched about the fans for the 4 hours they were on air. They could not talk about how awful that experience was more. And I'm not endorsing it. It's just nuts. And there's a lot of pent-up frustration on top of this. The Phillies were supposed to deliver the last few years. They didn't do it. The Sixers have been a nightmare for a decade. All these promises never doing anything. The Flyers have been a disaster, and they lost a Super Bowl 2 years ago. So the opportunity to win that NFC Championship game, of course they were going to lose their minds. It's what they were bred to do.
Definitely not excuse the behavior. Like I saw videos the other day where Commanders fans are getting a hard time. They're dressed in their gear. And again, not excusing the behavior, but I got to be perfectly honest. I'm not trying to go to a Philadelphia Eagles game wearing the other team's gear. It's like you really are asking for a problem. Like I've done that one time in my life. Me and my buddies were at the University of Florida. Jacksonville is only 90 minutes away. The Dolphins were playing at the Jaguars. We're like, all right, you know what? Let's go. And we're all wearing our Dolphin gear because you know what? That's a soft fan base. We know that no one's going to mess with us there. But I'm not trying to go to an Eagles game wearing my Dolphin gear. You're asking for a problem.
Right. It's you got to know that going in. You got to understand the situation. Like, my wife is a Bills fan. I'm an Eagles fan. We have 2 boys, 8 and 6, and like, they're playing football. They want to go to a game. And I keep telling her their first game is not going to be Philadelphia. Like, let's go to Buffalo, watch the people jump through tables, light themselves on fire, all that fun stuff that happens at those tailgates. But those are very friendly people. If you've ever been to Buffalo, if you've never been there, everybody's super friendly. Everybody is so friendly. They're so welcoming. They're so kind and generous and nice. They're the nicest people on earth. It is the exact opposite of what you would see at Lincoln Financial Field. I mean, I am not taking an 8 and a 6-year-old to that environment. It's going to be loud. It's going to be violent. It's going to be aggressive. Like, you want to introduce them in a way where it's not so chaotic. And again, it's not to condemn the fans or anything like that. It's just, you got to be ready for something like that. And I don't think a 6-year-old, that should be his first experience with a game. It's nuts.
I like how the introductory calm atmosphere is the ones where people are jumping through tables on fire.
Right. Yeah, it'll be no problem. Like, a guy will accidentally let himself on fire. We'll all laugh. We'll move on with our day. It's Buffalo. We all just shrug. Like, that guy lit himself on fire last year. Everyone was just, oh, okay, that's how we get down. It's okay. I'm not. Who am I to criticize you?
How about when Harry Douglas a couple months ago, they're doing the game in Buffalo, and he decides to be indoctrinated into Bill's Mafia, and he tries to jump through a table feet first. He almost died.
That was wild, because I love the fact that he was willing to do it. And you understood he's not going to do the traditional macho man elbow off the top rope, because you're probably going to land on your side, blow out your shoulder. And he's thinking, I'm not going to blow out my shoulder. I'm an athlete. Like, I'm going to try to just go straight through this thing, but not accounting for the fact that a mere wobble could send the head back. Like, he did it twice, but there was way more risk with what he was doing. Very lucky to survive that. Very lucky.
It's crazy. So what will it be like for you if the Eagles win the Super Bowl? I mean, I've never experienced it before in my life. I've had the Marlins win twice. I've had the Heat win twice. I've had the Panthers win once. I've never had my football team win a Super Bowl. So I've never had my team win the one game sevens, but I've never had my team win a one-off game, Super Bowl. You experienced it before. Will this one be different for you if they win again, since you've already been through it once?
It's so wild, because I don't know if anything can ever match that first one, because it was like the perfect storm. I'm living in San Francisco. The day before, the Saturday, was my oldest son's first birthday. His first birthday. So, like, your parents, you made it through the first year. You did it. You kept this baby alive. All the grandparents are out visiting. We had a big party. So it's like this wonderful moment. And then I got tipped off on the national anthem length that Pink was singing, and I ended up making the biggest bet of my life. Now, you're not able to get as much down on the national anthem as you would think. You can't just roll up and make a $10,000 bet.
It's usually, so you need like $500, right?
Yeah, maybe at that. And now you can't do anything, because back then, like, people didn't realize that the anthem had a rehearsal either the day or 2 days before, and the singer would sing it 4, maybe 5 times, and we'd have people in there timing it, and they would send out the results, and then you would bet it. But you can't just walk up and bet $10,000 on the anthem. So you need a lot of sports books. You need a lot of people that are working together to get down as much money as possible. So I get tipped off on this. Now, someone has since blown this. So anyone listening to this, it's going to be impossible to pull this off, because some asshole, we're allowed to curse on this?
Yes.
Yeah. Some asshole for the Brady Mahomes Super Bowl in Tampa stood outside Raymond James Stadium with his phone on the stopwatch when the rehearsal was going on, and he hit play and he filmed himself, and he's like, look at me, I'm timing the rehearsals. And it's like, no shit. This has been going on for a decade. Why are you releasing this to the public? You idiot. Like, we've had this great thing going. So the sports books are now wise to this. Everyone knows what's going on. So now, though, if they even give you the option, they release it on Sunday. They already know the timing of the rehearsal, so they give you the exact number, and they let you bet like $50 either way. It's completely useless. So back to the story anyway. My son turns 1. I get tipped off on the anthem. I get more money down on this bet than I ever have in my life. The Eagles are in the Super Bowl. I've never seen a Super Bowl. I saw them lose to the Patriots years prior. I was at a party in law school. I wanted to watch it by myself. They convinced me to come. I said, okay, I'm amongst friends. Everyone was rooting for the Patriots to mock me. Eagles lost. I broke down in tears. I was drunk. I was a mess. I'm crying. Everyone's mocking me. I storm out like a baby. It's a horrible experience. McNabb puking on the field, all that stuff. So this thing, it's like all those memories are coming back. It's Brady. It's Nick Foles. You think you have no chance. Pink ends up going under on the anthem. So I won a ton of money. I got all this stress.
How many books did you lay with?
That's a good question. I don't even know if I have that answer because I was working with people who were getting down. So it was like, get me as much down as you can. So they may have gone to like 3 books, $1,500. Next guy might come back and be like, all right, we're splitting it. I got 1 book, but he let me put it in for $2,000. And it just all added up and it ended up being the biggest bet of my life. So it hits. Game starts. My heart's already, it can't take it. And then you got Philly special, all this other stuff that's happening. They win the game. And I'm just, you're just emotionally drained from the weekend, from the gambling, from the fact that they won this shootout game, which was one of the greatest football games I've ever watched. So yeah, it was incredible. So now I have experience with losing. And when they lost 2 years ago, I wasn't nearly as devastated. Thank God. And now with winning, I wouldn't even know. I would celebrate. I would probably cry a little bit, but I'm more mature now. So it would be different because I was lucky enough to have one. So I think this time around would bring some emotion, but it won't be as chaotic as that first one.
Well, the next step for you will be, and like you said, your kids are 6 and 8, is when you could experience the championship with your boys also caring, maybe similarly the way that you do. I got to experience that this past year with the Florida Panthers winning the Stanley Cup. And while the Heat have always been number one for me my entire life, I have 2 championship rings, part of the organization, the broadcast team. Like, it's a really big deal, the Heat winning the 3 times.
Do you actually have rings?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Look over my shoulder.
That.
Let me see if I can point right there. That picture is those are my fists.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
me.
incredible.
Yeah, those are mine.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt, but something like that has to be addressed. I'm sitting amongst a 2-time champion.
That's my gimmick. I'm a 2-time champion broadcaster. Yes, that's my thing. I didn't make that up.
I had the pleasure of working with you last year during that Stanley Cup run, and I remember you talking to me throughout it about going with your sons. That's a beautiful thing.
It was the greatest sports fan experience of my life.
I love that.
Experiencing it all with my kids. And I got my father. We're watching Game 7. So it's 3 generations of Zaslow men, all 4 of us. Odds are it'll be the only time we ever get to do that, the 4 of us together, But
you got to do it. You got to do it, which is the most important thing. Maybe you can get everyone involved for WrestleMania. You get the missus involved. She's a huge fan, obviously.
This past weekend was the first weekend that I don't have college football tailgate. That's over with. So I got my weekends back. Although I missed college football tailgate already. I had such a good time. But we get the weekends back. So the first weekend that I'm home again, it went fantastic. My wife and I, we were watching movies together during the day. Then we watched the Heat game. The main test was she going to sit and watch Saturday night's main event with me? She did not. The answer to that was no. I said, but Tam, come on, Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens, Shawn Michaels is having them sign the contract. What's going to happen? She did not care.
That's the amazing thing, too. You're not even selling her on an actual match. You're like, it's the contract signing. You got to be here for the contract signing.
Heartbreak HBK, Heartbreak Kid in San Antonio. So let's talk. All right, let me get your thoughts here real quick. Royal Rumble is this coming weekend. Thank the Lord, all right, that the weekend between Championship Sunday and the Super Bowl, at least we got Royal Rumble here.
Smart.
I'm very, very excited. A, how much do you love Royal Rumble? B, do you have a favorite that you want to win the match?
I have a big problem on my hands because, like you, I'm about to embark upon getting my weekends back. And guess what? My wife immediately filled my weekend up. There is a gala we are going to on Saturday night for the board she's on for a dog rescue here in Connecticut. It's called Dog Star Rescue. They have their annual gala. It is right in the heart of the Royal Rumble. And I asked her, when does this start? When does this end? And she knew exactly what I was saying. She's like, you will not be seeing the Royal Rumble. You will be watching that the next day at best. So now I'm sitting here and I'm thinking this is bullshit, but also it'll be fine. Maybe I'll stream the Royal Rumble at this event, but I won't be able to do that because I had to invite a bunch of ESPN personalities. So I got to mingle with these people. So I can't be watching Royal Rumble with Elle Duncan or Gary Streisky, right? Like I have to socialize. I have to stay off social media and make it to Sunday morning so I can watch the Rumble.
Yep.
Love the Rumble. To answer your question, my youngest, both my boys are into it, but my youngest is obsessed. He's 6 years old. He stayed up last year. Last year we're watching it. Everyone had gone to bed because this thing goes late. This is their latest event. It went past midnight. So I kept telling him his guy at the time was McIntyre. He goes, I just want to stay up for McIntyre. I was like, all right, you can stay up for McIntyre, and then we got to go to bed. McIntyre comes out at like 24 or whatever it was. So at this point, it's like, you know what? It's all over. You're staying up for the whole thing. I got no control over this. He watched the whole thing. It was the best experience I had watching it ever because he was so into it. He was so locked in. Like it plays so well for the young mind because you get a new entrant every couple minutes. You're fired up. So I love it. I think it's fantastic. We got a star-studded affair this year. I know everyone thinks Cena. I'm going McIntyre, not because of how much he likes it. I think this is going to be a classic swerve. We're all thinking Cena. We're all thinking CM Punk. We got all this stuff happening. McIntyre's been at war with everybody as of late. He's fighting everyone. He's not getting his. Everyone says he sounds jealous. He sounds upset. He's bitter about everything. What better way to win this and to finally pay off McIntyre having a shot at the title, not in the COVID generation where he's going after Cody Rhodes. That could be wild.
That you own that statement. I haven't heard anybody else say that.
Trademark.
Well, all you got to do, you just yell copyright, and that means
right. Copyright. Copyright. McIntyre wins the Rumble 2025.
Now, who do we have to talk to? WrestleMania is in Vegas. That's your old hood. Who do we have to talk to set us up? I got to go to WrestleMania. Who do we got to talk to?
I think we need to put together a solid pitch and really present this because the thing is, ESPN Bet, that's our sports book, Penn, they are our partners. Penn has a casino in Vegas. It's called the M Resort. It's in Henderson. It's beautiful. I went there once last year in January. They treated me like a king. They gave me this huge wraparound suite. I walk into the suite, autographed bottle of Charles Woodson's wine. There was an autographed bottle of whiskey from somebody. It was, I should remember, it was a beautiful setup. They said, come back anytime. They're looking to turn the sports book into something where it has a studio. They want us there. They've said they'll take care of us. I know some other places that'll take care of us too, but not partnerships. But like,
They do like a radio row kind of thing.
I know. We got to get this going. And they're smart enough that they moved it past March Madness now, so it doesn't conflict with anything. So we got to put together a plan. I think there's absolutely an opportunity for us.
I'm ready. I mean, come on. Let's figure out who we got to talk to here. Let's do it. We'll get some content. Let's do it.
I brought it up before, and I've immediately just gotten a head shake. And it's like, but if all the expenses are covered, why not? And it's just moving on. Fortenbaugh, just go turn the microphone on, spit your nonsense into it for 3 hours, and then be on your way.
Joe Fortenbaugh, weekdays, 12 to 3 p. Eastern time. Next week, a few shows. The show's just going to be called Fortenbaugh. Harry Douglas will be there with him. And then after that, Hugh Myers will be on permanently with Joe. Joe, excellent job. Did we leave anything out? ESPN Bet, what else?
No, we got everything. I love the fact that we didn't even talk about sports at all. There's a tremendous interview, Zaz. I love the way you just directed it where it needed to go.
Joe, thanks so much. Appreciate you, man.
Love you, buddy. Thank you for having me. Send me some of that Johnny Cuba.
Yes.